Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. The ship hummed quietly around him as it moved through space toward Earth. He had been away for 3 months, visiting the outer colonies and checking on their progress. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed peaceful. Lisa Adams walked up beside him, holding a datapad in her hands. She was his chief strategist and one of the smartest people he knew. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her uniform was perfectly pressed as always. "The colonies are doing well," she said, looking at her reports. "New Angeles has increased food production by 20%. The mining station at Kepler 442 is ahead of schedule. Even the furthest settlements are showing good growth." Morrison nodded. Humanity had spread across 17 star systems in the past 50 years. It had been hard work, but they had built something amazing. Trade ships moved between worlds carrying goods and people. Children born on distant planets had never seen Earth but still called themselves human. The future looked bright. "Any word from the exploration teams?" Morrison asked. "Captain Rodriguez sent a message yesterday. His team found 3 more habitable worlds in the Vega sector. We could have colonies there within 5 years." Paul Rodriguez was one of their best explorers. He had been pushing further into space than anyone else, always looking for new worlds where humans could live. Morrison trusted him completely. The communication officer turned around from his station. "Sir, we're getting strange readings from the outer sensors. Multiple ships approaching from different directions." Morrison frowned. "Identify them, are they ours?" "No, sir. The designs don't match any human ships in our database. They're big, and there are a lot of them." Lisa stepped forward, her face serious. "How many?" "I count at least 200 ships, sir. Maybe more. They're coming from 5 different vectors surrounding our position." Morrison felt a cold feeling in his stomach. In all their years of expansion, humans had never met another intelligent species. They had found ruins on some worlds, old buildings that suggested someone had lived there long ago, but never active civilizations. "Red alert," Morrison said calmly. "All hands to battle stations. Send a message to Earth Command immediately." The bridge lights dimmed and red warning lights began flashing. Throughout the ship, alarms sounded as the crew rushed to their positions. Morrison watched the tactical display as more and more alien ships appeared on the screen. They were massive, some of them 10 times larger than the Liberty. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," the communications officer said. "Put it on screen." The main viewer flickered and an alien face appeared. The creature had blue-gray skin, large black eyes, and a tall, thin head. It wore what looked like military uniform with strange symbols on it. "I am Supreme Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire," the alien said. Its voice was cold and emotionless. "You are the species called humans. Your expansion ends now." Morrison stepped forward. "I'm Admiral Morrison of the United Earth Federation. We come in peace. We've never attacked anyone or taken anything that belonged to others." Veltar's expression didn't change. "Your rapid growth threatens the stability of this galactic sector. The hegemony has decided that humanity must be contained. Surrender your weapons and prepare for occupation." "The hegemony?" Lisa whispered beside him. Veltar continued. "We represent 5 civilized species who have maintained order in this galaxy for thousands of years. Your chaotic expansion disrupts the balance we have worked to preserve. You will be returned to your homeworld and restricted to your original system." Morrison felt anger rising in his chest. "We've done nothing wrong. We explore, we trade, we build homes. We don't threaten anyone." "Your very existence threatens order," Veltar replied. "The decision has been made. You have 1 hour to surrender, or we will take your worlds by force." The transmission ended, and the alien face disappeared from the screen. Morrison turned to his crew. "Get me a channel to all human worlds' military and civilian frequencies. Emergency priority." Within minutes, he was connected to every human settlement in known space. Colony administrators, ship captains, military commanders, and civilian leaders all appeared on screens around the bridge. "This is Admiral Morrison with an emergency bulletin. We are under attack by alien forces calling themselves the Hegemony. They have given us 1 hour to surrender. I'm ordering immediate evacuation of all non-essential personnel and activation of all defense protocols." The faces on the screens showed shock and fear. Many of these people had never imagined they would face something like this. "What are our chances?" asked Commander Sarah Bell from the Mars Defense Station. Morrison looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was spreading out, surrounding not just Earth, but moving toward other human worlds as well. "They have us outnumbered, but we're not giving up without a fight." The next hour passed like a nightmare. Human defense fleets moved into position around their worlds, but everyone could see they were badly outnumbered. The alien ships were not only more numerous, but also appeared to be more advanced. When the hour ended, Veltar's face appearance on every human communication channel across all 17 star systems. "Your time is over," he announced. "The cleansing begins now." The attack was swift and devastating. The alien ships moved with perfect coordination, hitting every human world at the same time. Earth's orbital defense platforms exploded in bright flashes that could be seen from the surface. On Mars, the defense stations were destroyed in minutes. The outer colonies sent desperate messages before their communications went silent one by one. Morrison watched helplessly as his fleet was torn apart around him. The Liberty shook as alien weapons hit its shields. Explosions lit up space as human ships fought and died. "Sir, we've lost contact with New Angeles," the communications officer reported. "Kepler Station is under heavy attack. The mining colonies aren't responding." Lisa grabbed Morrison's arm. "Jake, we need to retreat. If we stay here, we'll all..." Morrison knew she was right, but the thought of running made him sick. These were his people, his responsibility. But staying would only add their deaths to the millions who were already dying. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Execute emergency scatter protocol, fall back to rally points, and await further orders." What was left of the human fleet broke apart, each ship heading in a different direction. Some tried to reach the outer systems where the aliens might not follow. Others headed for asteroid fields where they could hide. As the Liberty jumped into hyperspace, Morrison took one last look at Earth. The planet's surface was covered with fires. Alien ships surrounded it like vultures around a dead animal. 14. Of humanity's 17 worlds had fallen silent within 3 days. Earth was occupied. Mars was under alien control. Only the furthest colonies remained, and even they were cut off and surrounded. In his quarters, Morrison made a final recording. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the United Earth Federation. To any humans receiving this message, remember Protocol 7. This is not surrender, this is tactical withdrawal. They think they've won, but they don't understand what they've awakened. Humanity will endure. Humanity will remember. And someday humanity will return." Veltar stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the burning Earth below. The attack had been even easier than expected. These humans had fought bravely, but foolishly. They were no match for the combined might of the Hegemony. "Status report," he ordered. 14 human worlds are under our control," his aide reported. 3 outer settlements remain, but they are isolated and pose no threat. Human military forces have been scattered. Their government has collapsed. Veltar nodded with satisfaction. "Begin Phase 2. Dismantle their technology and reduce them to acceptable levels. Post-occupation forces on all worlds. The human threat has been eliminated." As he spoke those words, Veltar had no idea that deep beneath Earth's surface, in hidden bunkers that had been prepared years ago, groups of humans were already beginning to activate Morrison's Protocol 7. The war, as far as Veltar knew, was over. But for humanity, it was just beginning. 2 years had passed since the Hegemony's attack, and Supreme Commander Veltar believed the human problem was solved. He stood in his command center on the occupied Earth, looking at reports from across the conquered worlds. The humans lived, quietly under alien rule, their technology reduced to simple tools and basic machines. Their cities had been rebuilt in the Hegemony's preferred style, with tall spires and curved buildings that looked nothing like the old human architecture. "The pacification is complete," his aide reported. Human populations are stable and compliant. There have been no significant incidents in the past 6 months. Veltar nodded. It had taken longer than expected to fully control the humans, but now they seemed to accept their new reality. Children went to schools where they learned hegemony, languages, and customs. Adults worked in jobs assigned by alien supervisors. The dangerous period of human expansion was over. What Veltar did not know was that hundreds of meters beneath his feet, Kate Sullivan was reading those same reports on a stolen alien datapad. She sat in a dimly lit underground chamber that had once been a subway maintenance tunnel. Now it served as a command center for the human resistance. Kate had been an intelligence officer before the invasion. She was tall and thin, with short brown hair and sharp green eyes that missed nothing. When Admiral Morrison's Protocol 7 had been activated, she had been one of the first to go underground. Now she led a network of hidden communities that stretched across 3 continents. "They think we're beaten," she said to the group of people gathered around her. "That's good. Let them think that." Danny Kim looked up from the electronic equipment he was working on. He was a young engineer who had helped design some of Earth's defense systems before the invasion. His hands moved quickly over alien circuits, modifying them in ways their original makers never intended. "I've got the communication array working," he said. "We can now talk to the other cells without the aliens detecting us. The signal bounces through old satellite networks they don't even know exist." Kate smiled. The resistance had grown much larger than the aliens realized. Thousands of humans had disappeared into underground tunnels, abandoned buildings, and hidden caves before the occupation began. They had taken with them everything they could carry: weapons, food, medical supplies, and most importantly, knowledge. But something else was happening to the humans living underground, something none of them had expected. Dr. Amy Foster had been studying it for months in her makeshift laboratory deep beneath what used to be Chicago. Amy was a biologist who had been working on human genetics before the war. She was small and quiet, with long blonde hair that she kept tied back while she worked. Her laboratory was cramped and poorly lit, but she had managed to salvage enough equipment to continue her research. "The changes are remarkable," she told Kate during one of their secret meetings. Living underground, eating different food, breathing recycled air, being under constant stress. It's triggering genetic responses we never knew humans had. Kate frowned. "What kind of responses?" Amy pulled out a datapad with her test results. Enhanced night vision is the most common. People who have been underground for more than a year can see in almost complete darkness. Some are showing increased resistance to radiation. A few have developed what I can only call intuitive abilities. Intuitive abilities? They can sense things before they happen. Not like magic, but their brains are processing tiny environmental clues much faster than normal. One woman in Tunnel 7 can tell when alien patrols are coming 20 minutes before they arrive, just by feeling vibrations in the ground. Kate stared at the data. "How is this possible?" Amy's eyes lit up with excitement. "That's the amazing part. The changes aren't random mutations. They're activations of genetic sequences that were already there, just dormant. It's like humans were designed to adapt quickly to extreme environments." Over the following weeks, Kate began to understand what Amy meant. Throughout the underground network, humans were becoming something more than they had been before. Night vision was just the beginning. Some people could go without sleep for days. Others could hear sounds from incredible distances. A few seemed to know instinctively how alien technology worked. Rick Hayes was one of those people. He had been a cargo pilot before the invasion, flying supplies between the outer colonies. Now he lived in an underground hangar where the Resistance kept stolen alien vehicles. Rick could look at any piece of alien equipment and understand how to use it within minutes. "It's not like I'm learning it," he explained to Kate. "It's like I already know it. But I'm just remembering, like the knowledge was always there in my head." Maria Santos had a similar experience. She had been a factory worker before the war, with no special technical training. But now she could repair alien computers and communication devices better than their original designers. Her hand seemed to know exactly which circuits to connect and which parts to replace. The Resistance began to use these new abilities in their operations against the hegemony. Small teams would slip into alien facilities, at night moving through the darkness like ghosts. They would sabotage equipment, steal supplies, and rescue captured humans before disappearing back into their hidden tunnels. The aliens noticed these problems, but they didn't understand what was causing them. Equipment would mysteriously fail. Supply convoys would lose cargo trucks. Soldiers would report seeing figures that vanished when they looked directly at them. Maintenance issues, Veltar's engineers reported. The human-built infrastructure is incompatible with our systems. We need to replace more of their old equipment. Veltar accepted these explanations. All conquered species had an adjustment period. These minor problems would disappear as the occupation became more established, but the problems were getting worse, not better. Kate's network had grown to include over 10,000 people across the 3 remaining human worlds. They had built communication systems that the aliens couldn't detect, using old human satellites and quantum transmitters hidden in asteroid fields. Greg Campbell led one of the most successful resistance cells. He had been a farmer before the invasion, growing corn and wheat on the plains of North America. Now he commanded a group of fighters who knew every tunnel and abandoned building in their territory. Greg had developed the strongest intuitive abilities Amy had ever seen. He could plan attacks that seemed impossible, knowing exactly when alien patrols would change shifts and which routes would be unguarded. His team never lost a person, and they had rescued over 200 captured humans in the past year. It's like I can see the patterns, Greg explained to Kate during one meeting. Not with my eyes, but with something deeper. I know where the aliens will be before they know it themselves. Amy's research revealed the truth behind these abilities. Human DNA contained what she called genetic memory, information passed down from ancestors who had survived impossible situations throughout Earth's history. The stress of living underground was activating these ancient survival instincts. Every human whose ancestors survived famines, wars, plagues, and disasters carries those survival patterns in their genes, she explained. The occupation has triggered the activation of this stored knowledge. We're becoming what our species was always meant to be in times of crisis. The Resistance was no longer just a group of survivors hiding in tunnels. They were becoming something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that grew stronger under pressure, that adapted to any environment, that learned from every challenge. Kate stood in her command center, looking at maps of all the resistance cells across human space. Red dots marked successful operations. Blue lines showed communication networks. Green squares indicated hidden supply caches. The underground war was spreading. They think they've won, she said to Danny and Amy. They think we're just maintenance problems and equipment failures. They have no idea what they've actually done. Amy nodded. They've given us exactly what we needed to evolve. Pressure, stress, and motivation. Every day we grow stronger and smarter. Danny looked up from his latest project, a device that could jam alien sensors from kilometers away. How long before we're ready to fight back openly? Kate smiled. Not long. Admiral Morrison's message said to remember Protocol 7. We've remembered more than that. We've remembered what it means to be human. Far above them, Veltar continued to receive reports about minor maintenance issues and isolated incidents. He had no idea that beneath his feet, and on worlds throughout the former human territory, a new kind of human was being born. The occupation that was meant to end humanity's threat was actually creating something far more dangerous than the hegemony had ever imagined. The humans weren't just surviving underground. They were evolving, learning, and preparing. The war, Veltar thought, he had won was about to begin for real. 5 years after the invasion, Veltar stood in his command center staring at reports that made no sense. Equipment failures were happening every day now. Entire supply convoys vanished without a trace. His soldiers reported strange encounters with humans who seemed to disappear into thin air. This is unacceptable, he told his staff. How can a defeated species cause so many problems? His chief engineer, a tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms, shifted nervously. Supreme Commander, these aren't normal equipment failures. Someone is deliberately sabotaging our systems. The damage shows clear signs of intelligent planning. Veltar's black eyes narrowed. Impossible. We have monitoring systems everywhere. No human can move without us knowing about it. What Veltar didn't know was that at that very moment, Rick Hayes was sitting inside a stolen hegemony transport ship, flying it through restricted airspace without triggering a single alarm. Rick had learned to think like the alien navigation computers. He understood their patrol patterns better than they did themselves. The ship landed in a hidden valley where Admiral Morrison waited with a team of enhanced humans. Morrison had survived the past 5 years by staying mobile, never remaining in one place for more than a few days. His hair had turned gray and his face showed the stress of years of guerrilla warfare, but his eyes still burned with determination. "Report," Morrison said as Rick climbed out of the stolen ship. "The weapons facility on Kepler Station is lightly guarded on Thursdays," Rick said. "Their patrol schedule has a 2-hour gap between shift changes. We can be in and out before they know we're there." Morrison nodded. "What about the other targets?" Maria Santos stepped forward, carrying a case full of alien technology she had modified. "The communication center on Mars has a weak point in their shield generators. I've built devices that can overload their entire network from the inside." Morrison looked at his team. These people had become something amazing over the past 5 years. They moved like shadows, thought like machines, and fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Amy Foster approached from her mobile laboratory. She had discovered something that changed everything they knew about humanity. "Jake, I need to show you something," she said, her voice filled with excitement and fear. "I've been studying the genetic changes in our people, and I found something incredible." She led him to her equipment, where she had been analyzing DNA samples from enhanced humans across the resistance network. "The changes aren't random," she explained. "There are patterns in our DNA that don't match normal human evolution. They're too complex, too organized. It's like someone put them there on purpose." Morrison frowned. "What do you mean?" Amy pulled up a display showing human genetic code. "Look at these sequences. They contain information about star navigation, advanced mathematics, even blueprints for technology we haven't invented yet. It's all hidden in what scientists used to call junk DNA." "That's impossible." "That's what I thought. But then I compared our DNA to some of the ruins we found on abandoned worlds before the invasion. Jake, the mathematical patterns match. Whoever built those ancient cities, they left information in human genetic code." Morrison stared at the data. "You're saying aliens modified human DNA in the past? Not modified, enhanced, like they were preparing us for something. The stress of the occupation is activating genetic programs that were designed to help us survive exactly this kind of situation." Amy showed him more data. "Every human who's been underground for more than 2 years is carrying active genetic sequences that didn't exist before the invasion. We're not just adapting to survival. We're remembering knowledge that was hidden in us all along." This explained everything Morrison had been seeing. His people weren't just getting better at fighting. They were becoming something entirely new. Kate Sullivan could coordinate attacks across multiple star systems using her enhanced mental abilities. Greg Campbell led strike teams with tactical knowledge that seemed to come from ancient military traditions no human had ever studied. The resistance had grown beyond anything the aliens could imagine. Hidden bases on 17 worlds. Communication. Networks that spanned half the galaxy. Technology that combined human innovation with activated genetic memories and stolen alien equipment. Morrison made a decision that would change everything. "It's time," he told his commanders. "We've been hiding long enough. The aliens think they've won, but they've actually created their worst nightmare. It's time to show them what humanity has become." Kate Sullivan received Morrison's message in her command center deep beneath New York. She looked at the faces of her team, people who had become family over 5 years of underground warfare. "Simultaneous strikes across all occupied worlds," she announced. "Every major alien facility, every communication center, every command post, we hit them all at the same time." Danny Kim had spent years building the technology to make this possible. His communication network could send messages faster than the aliens' own systems. His sabotage devices could shut down their power grids from orbit. "All teams are ready," he reported. "We can coordinate 17 separate attacks across 8 star systems. The aliens won't know what hit them." Greg Campbell's team prepared to assault the main hegemony base on Earth. His enhanced intuition told him exactly when the alien guards would be weakest, which routes would be undefended, and how to disable their security systems without triggering alarms. Rick Hayes and Maria Santos worked together to hijack alien ships that would carry strike teams to targets throughout human space. They had learned to pilot alien vessels better than their original crews, using genetic memories that taught them to think like the star navigators of an ancient civilization. Dr. Amy Foster made one final discovery before the attacks began. She found the deepest genetic sequences, the ones that had been waiting longest to activate. "Jake, there's something else," she told Morrison over their encrypted communication link. "The genetic memories aren't just about survival and technology. There are records, stories, warnings about the hegemony." "What kind of warnings?" "The ancient civilization that enhanced our DNA. They fought the hegemony before. They lost, but not before they learned the aliens' weaknesses. All of that knowledge is stored in our genetic code, waiting for us to need it." Morrison felt a chill run through him. "We're not the first species they've conquered." "No, but we might be the first they can't keep conquered. The ancients designed us to be everything the hegemony isn't. They're rigid, we're adaptable. They follow rules, we improvise. They think in straight lines, we think in patterns they can't understand." The coordinated attacks began at exactly the same moment across 17 worlds. Kate Sullivan's teams struck command centers on Earth while Greg Campbell's fighters hit supply depots. Rick Hayes led hijacked alien ships in attacks on orbital stations, while Maria Santos overloaded communication networks from the inside. The hegemony forces were caught completely off guard. Their sensors detected the attacks only after they had already begun. Their communication systems failed just as they tried to coordinate responses. Their backup systems activated stolen human sabotage devices that shut them down again. Veltar watched his carefully organized occupation collapse in a single day. Reports flooded in from every world under his control. Human rebels were attacking everywhere at once using tactics and technology he had never seen before. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Where did they get these weapons? How are they coordinating across such distances?" His aide trembled as he delivered the worst news. "Supreme Commander, they're not using our communication systems. They have their own network that we can't detect or jam, and their weapons appear to be combinations of our technology with something else, something we don't understand." On the main viewer, Veltar watched human fighters moving through his base like ghosts. They seemed to know exactly where every guard would be, exactly which systems to target, exactly how to cause maximum damage with minimum exposure. These weren't the same humans he had defeated 5 years ago. They moved with impossible coordination, fought with knowledge they shouldn't possess, and used technology that combined the best of alien science with something entirely new. Admiral Morrison's voice echoed across every communication channel in occupied space, broadcast from hidden transmitters that the aliens couldn't locate or silence. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Human Resistance. 5 years ago you thought you ended our expansion. You thought you contained our threat. You were wrong. You didn't defeat humanity. You forged us into something stronger. The occupation ends now. You wanted to see what humans are capable of when we're truly threatened. Now you know." Veltar realized with growing horror that his victory had been an illusion. The humans hadn't been defeated. They had been learning, growing, evolving. The occupation that was supposed to end their threat had created something far more dangerous than the galaxy had ever seen. The coordinated human attacks continued for 3 months, but they were unlike any warfare the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of massive battles with fleets of ships, the humans fought like a living organism that could think and adapt faster than their enemies could respond. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, a vessel that shouldn't have existed. The ship looked like it had been built from pieces of human, alien, and ancient technology, all fused together. Its hull was smooth and organic, almost alive. Its weapons could punch through hegemony shields like they were made of paper. "Status report," Morrison said to his crew. Kate Sullivan looked up from her command station. Her abilities had grown so strong that she could coordinate with resistance cells across the galaxy just by thinking about them. 17 worlds reporting. Successful liberation. The aliens are retreating from 14 of their major bases. Their communication network is completely disrupted. Paul Rodriguez appeared on the main screen from his exploration ship in deep space. He had been mapping new regions of the galaxy that the hegemony had never dared to explore. "Jake, you need to see what we found out here. The ruins aren't just on the worlds we knew about, they're everywhere. Whoever enhanced our DNA, they built an empire that spanned thousands of star systems." Morrison nodded. Dr. Amy Foster had activated the final genetic sequences 3 weeks ago, and the results had been beyond anyone's imagination. Humans could now share consciousness during critical moments, becoming a collective intelligence while still keeping their individual personalities. The change had happened during the battle for Mars. Greg Campbell's strike team had been surrounded by alien forces with no way to escape. Suddenly, every human within 100 kilometers had felt what Greg was feeling, seen what he was seeing, known what he knew. Maria Santos, working on equipment repairs 50 kilometers away, had instantly understood the exact technical solution Greg needed. Rick Hayes, flying a transport ship in orbit, had known exactly where and when to provide support. The aliens had watched in horror as their trapped enemies had fought with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. But it wasn't control. It was cooperation at a level no other species had ever achieved. "They're not individuals anymore," Veltar had reported to his superiors in the Hegemony Council. "They move like parts of the same organism. Our battle computers can't predict their actions because they're not thinking like separate beings." Dr. Amy Foster had discovered that this was exactly what the ancient genetic programming had been designed to create. The DNA sequences contained instructions for temporary consciousness sharing during times of extreme need. Humans could become a collective intelligence for warfare, exploration, or problem-solving, then return to being individuals when the crisis passed. Now, as Morrison looked at the tactical displays showing human forces across the galaxy, he could feel the presence of every other enhanced human. Kate's strategic thinking, Greg's tactical instincts, Rick's navigation skills, Maria's technical knowledge, and Amy's scientific understanding all flowed together in his mind when he needed them. The hegemony forces were crumbling. Their rigid command structure couldn't adapt to fighting an enemy that could think and act as one being across multiple star systems. Every time they developed a new strategy, the humans had already anticipated it and prepared countermeasures. But Veltar had one final plan. If he couldn't defeat the humans through conventional warfare, he would destroy Earth itself. The thought of those enhanced humans spreading across the galaxy terrified him more than anything he had ever faced. "Prepare the planet-killer weapon," he ordered his remaining fleet. "We will burn their home world and end this threat forever." The massive alien ship moved toward Earth, its weapon systems charging with enough power to crack a planet's surface. But the humans were waiting. Morrison's ship appeared directly in the planet-killer's path, along with dozens of other human vessels. But these weren't the same ships the hegemony had destroyed 5 years ago. These vessels seemed to shift and flow like living things, their designs based on ancient technology patterns stored in human genetic memory. "Veltar," Morrison's voice echoed across the communication channels. "You made one mistake. You thought victory meant destroying your enemy, but victory means becoming something greater than you were before." The battle that followed lasted only minutes, but it changed the course of galactic history. The human ships moved with impossible coordination, their pilots sharing thoughts and reactions in real time. They anticipated every alien attack, countered every strategy, and responded to threats before the alien computers had even processed them. Veltar watched his planet-killer weapon disabled by human fighters that seemed to know exactly which systems to target. His escort ships were outmaneuvered by pilots who shared the flying skills of every other human in space. His communication systems were jammed by technology that shouldn't have been possible. "How?" he asked as his flagship systems failed around him. "How did you become this?" Morrison's face appeared on Veltar's main screen. Behind him, Kate, Amy, Greg, Rick, and Maria stood together, their eyes showing the shared intelligence that connected them to humans across the galaxy. "You wanted to contain us," Morrison said. "Instead, you forced us to become what we were always meant to be. The ancients who enhanced our DNA knew this day would come. They knew you would try to stop any species that grew too quickly, too freely. So they prepared us." Amy stepped forward. "The genetic memories you activated contain more than just survival instincts. They contain the history of every species the hegemony has conquered over the past 10,000 years. We know your methods, your weaknesses, your fears." Kate added, "We also know about the other enhancement programs. Earth isn't the only world where the ancients left their mark. There are dozens of species out there with dormant genetic sequences, waiting for the right moment to activate." Veltar felt true fear for the first time in his long life. "You're planning to wake them all?" Greg smiled. "We're not planning anything. We're offering something, the same choice we're offering you." Morrison stepped forward again. "The hegemony can join us or be left behind. Your rigid empire, your static civilization, your fear of change, none of that has to continue. You can evolve too." The offer was genuine. The humans had learned from their genetic memories that the hegemony species had once been explorers and innovators, before fear had made them into controllers and conquerors. The ancient enhancement programs had been designed not just to create resistance fighters, but to eventually uplift all intelligent species in the galaxy. Some of the hegemony accepted. Young aliens who had grown tired of the rigid system began to work with humans, learning to think in new ways. They couldn't share consciousness like the enhanced humans, but they could learn to adapt and improvise. Others, like Veltar, chose to retreat to the far edges of the galaxy, maintaining their old ways in isolation. Morrison stood on the observation deck of Earth's rebuilt orbital station 6 months later, watching ships depart for unexplored regions of space. Human-led exploration fleets were heading out with mixed crews of enhanced humans and former hegemony aliens who had chosen cooperation over control. Kate joined him at the window. The deep space probes found 17 more enhanced species in the outer rim. They've been waiting for us to find them. "And the ancient ruins?" Morrison asked. Amy's voice came through their shared consciousness link. She was on a research ship 3 star systems away, studying artifacts that were millions of years old. The civilization that enhanced us was preparing for something bigger than just the hegemony. The genetic programs were designed for exploration beyond this galaxy. They wanted to create beings capable of surviving anywhere, adapting to anything. Morrison smiled as he watched a transport ship carrying human families to a new colony world. Children who had been born during the occupation were growing up with abilities their parents could barely understand. They could communicate across vast distances, learn alien languages by instinct, and solve problems that would have taken previous generations years to figure out. Paul Rodriguez's voice joined the shared link from his ship at the edge of known space. "Jake, you need to see what's out here. We've found the pathway the ancients used to reach other galaxies. The enhancement programs weren't just about surviving in this galaxy. They were about preparing us to explore the entire universe." Morrison felt the presence of thousands of enhanced humans across human space, all sharing the same sense of wonder and possibility. The hegemony had tried to end humanity's expansion. Instead, they had triggered humanity's transformation into something capable of unlimited growth. Rick Hayes spoke from his navigation station on a deep space explorer. "Admiral, the star charts in our genetic memory show pathways to 7 other galaxies. Each one contains civilizations waiting for contact, species that might be ready for enhancement, worlds that need exploration." Morrison looked out at the stars and felt the shared anticipation of his species. The title of their story had been Proven True. The aliens had claimed victory, but that moment of triumph had actually been humanity's beginning. Not as a single species confined to one galaxy, but as the leaders of an alliance that would eventually span the universe. The exploration fleets departed Earth carrying enhanced humans, reformed aliens, and technology that combined the best of ancient wisdom with cutting-edge innovation. They were heading toward challenges and wonders that no species had ever imagined. Behind them, Earth continued to change and grow, becoming not just humanity's home but the center of a new kind of civilization, one that valued adaptation over control, cooperation over conquest, and endless growth over static perfection. The War was over. The real adventure was just beginning.